So, hi everyone, we're back with another episode of A Student's Perspective. My name is Paige, and today I'm here with Tanya Memme. And so, would you just please quickly introduce yourself and your role now?
Sure. So my name's Tanya Memme, and I am on a television show. Well, I'm a TV host, and I've been hosting a show called Sell This House on the A&E network, and it's also on the FYI network. We were on the air for 10 years. We were the third home design show ever on television way back in the day, and then we were off TV for about 7 years because we did do 10 seasons. And with the popularity and being nominated for Emmys back in the day, we're back. So that's what I'm doing right now.
So, I knew it'd be good to have you introduce yourself because I wasn't going to be able to handle all those accolades that even come prior to Sell This House and everything beyond. But more than just a TV host, and now you have such a heavy background in interior architecture and design and staging homes and working with clients, but along with that it comes with professionalism too. So being able to network with people and just the community that you've surrounded yourself with. And also we're just honored to have you on this show today because this is probably one of the most star-striking experiences we've had, and I'm impressed that you even answered Stephen's email to make it on here. So thank you again for just taking the time out of your day. So I want, of course, but I want to go back a little bit further because I know, so you're from Canada, and I think just the progression of where you've come to is so powerful and strong, and just the things you've had to, go through, just not only obstacles that everyone has, but where you've come from and making it into just the Hollywood scene in general too. So what was your life kind of like growing up, and how has that affected you?
Oh, well, I grew up in a very, very small farming town community in a little town called Wainfleet, Ontario, in Canada. And I grew up on a sod farm. So if you don't know what that is, which a lot of people don't, it's literally grass. So I grew up with my house and all my cousins lived beside me. And then 400 acres of grass. So that's where I grew up. And a lot of my friends were farmers and their parents were farmers. And so they all had animals and this and that. But yeah, I grew up in a very Italian, Catholic type of family. And then from there, I entered into pageants. I started entering pageants because I was told to, I don't know. Back in the day, we didn't have like stars. We didn't have all these different platforms. We didn't have the internet or anything like that. So really the only way if you really wanted to get yourself in front of TV was to either do plays that nobody saw or pageants. That was pretty much it, And so I tried that, and I didn't win the first pageant I was in, which was Miss Teen Niagara, and I was devastated. Then I went into the Miss Niagara pageant and won that, and I won Miss Canada.
Miss Canada.
Hi everyone, my name's Tanya Memme. I'm 22 years old, and I'm from Ontario.
And from kind of started my family now builds homes. So from the sod farm, we have a home construction company called Mountain View Homes in Canada. So that's a big part of the equation as well. Mm-hmm. And so I come from a home building background. They started the company when I was maybe 9 or 10, and now they're still booming. My brother owns the company now, and they build about 400 houses a year.
Hey. So you so casually said Miss Canada, and I feel like that was the start of everything, kind of, as you got into TV hosting and things like that. How was that sort of progression, and how quickly did it happen?
Oh, how quickly did it happen from winning Miss Canada into where I am now?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then I believe you were a telemarketer, right?
Oh, no, never a telemarketer. But I was, I went after Miss Canada. I moved to New York City. And and I went through acting school. And I went to the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. But I know where you're getting that from. What I think is that first job I was on a show called, Direct TV?
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at.
So yeah, I know you did your research. You're all good. But so Direct TV was my first hosting job I ever got.
I'm Tanya Memme for Customer News from Direct TV on Channel 201. This month, Customer News has an exciting new format and give you tips to get the most out of your receiving equipment. And Customer News from Direct TV on Channel 201. See you there.
And I was the spokesperson for Direct TV when the company only had 15,000 subscribers, if you can believe it. Now it's got like hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so that was my first hosting job after I went to acting school, and I had, I was in Saturday Night Live, and I did a bunch of acting things, and then I just started hosting, and DirecTV was one of the first jobs that I had gotten. So yeah, I hosted a news program on DirecTV, which is what it was.
Oh, yeah. So what was it moving to New York then, just for a change of city life and?
It was tough. I mean, after moving to Canada, I got engaged to somebody who I realized the relationship was not. It was either I was going to stay in a small town and be married, and I realized the relationship wasn't healthy for me, which is a big thing when you're younger, in your 20s. And leaving that, I called the wedding off 5 days before the wedding. About 6 months after that, I won Miss Canada. And you can't win Miss Canada if you're married. So it's making those right decisions and knowing inside what to do in order to spread your wings and fly. Not saying marriage doesn't allow you to do that, because a lot of relationships actually do. You know inside whether it's the right one or not to allow you to do that. So after winning Miss Canada, I went and studied at the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. So I moved to New York, and it was really, really scary. I mean, I didn't know anyone in Manhattan. It's a huge, bustling city. I lived in student housing, and that, like, to say the least, was just, mold-infested bathtub, and I mean, it was
Not glamorous.
It's not glamorous, and it's just, I worked really, really hard to get my first job, which was commercial. I auditioned 135 times to get my first phone commercial. It was an MCI commercial with Tony Danza.
That's huge. So those half-hour talks with her mom are going to cost you a lot less.
Dad, are you giving away the family secret?
Gave him the best one I have.
Dial 1010-321 to save.
And New York was hard, and even going to school was tough. And there's a lot of competition, and there's always somebody that's going to be better than you, and more talented than you, and smarter than you. And you just keep moving forward. And I'm like the little engine that could. I just kept going.
And so I know you kind of always had aspirations to be on TV, and you probably knew that from such an early age. Was there ever a point was there a point that clicked for you when you realized you wanted to do it through interiors?
I didn't really know that I wanted to be on television. I knew that I wanted to make a difference, and I knew that I would be on stage one day speaking to people or helping people. I had this vision when I was 11, but I didn't really know how it was going to happen. And it ended up through auditioning for the show I'm on now called Sell This House. But it's very interesting when you end up in a position through a very unorthodox way. So, I mean, I come from a home building family, and before that, sod. So we would lay sod for these beautifully newly built homes that would then be decorated and designed and then built. And so now our family does the whole thing. So knowing that was my background, it's kind of been in my blood for years, I ended up auditioning for this show, I mean, how many years later, called Sell This House. And I think, honestly, that was the icing on the cake to me getting that job, because I wasn't even the first host chosen. I was actually number 2. They chose somebody else, and the other person couldn't do it because she was some other contract for some other TV show. So a lot of it is just like I always went through the doors that sort of opened for me. And I didn't think that I wanted to be hosting a show with like some home design show that I didn't even know what it was at the time. Like, the idea of reality was brand new. So I had no idea what it was about. And I just didn't understand it when I first got it. So I didn't realize what it was going to become for me.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point that I said being on TV was one of your aspirations, but I think just getting out in front of people and, like you said, on the stage, like being not even just a motivational speaker in terms, but touching people and reaching people. There's different ways of doing that. But now reaching people through a broadcast network, it seems like a totally new ballgame, just because you're always being watched too in another light. And I see, like, in a lot of the shows that you've done too, it's you're producing the content half the time too. You have to be on your toes in a lot of these scenarios to where people will test you and you're actually making the content in a lot of the scenarios.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought of it that way. I mean, we do have structure on the show. We have to hit certain points.
Right.
I do definitely get to put in my own opinions and how I see things, and I'm involved with how the show is. This is how each scene is sort of designed and laid out, and so on the show, I'm the real estate staging expert more than anything. We do have designers, but we're all involved with the palette of the colors we choose and what walls we decide to put what artwork on and how we're going to stage each room and what we use. And we also have a staging company too that comes in and they're providing a lot of the furniture and things that we're using in the stage design. But it definitely is an accumulated effort. But being talent on the show, you're really the messenger. So whatever comes through you is what the audience gets to learn about and not learn about. So in that way, yeah, I do have a lot of control over what content the audience sees.
And exactly, because people don't actually see what goes on behind the scenes too. So even the operations of those staging crews and things like that. What's it like to work with such a handful of different backgrounds and people that are always influencing you, either on set or just how the designs kind of come to life?
I love it. I mean, I'm the kind of person where I'm always up for learning. I never think I'm better than anyone. I never think I'm too smart for whatever. Like I do feel like I'm very humble. I don't, I mean, I even reached, I'm happy that I'm here today with you guys.
On our show today.
Yeah, I'm just up for stuff. So when I meet new people, like I want to learn, where did they come from? What's your background? How did you learn how to do this? The woman who owns, we're using a company called Voila Staging Company in Philadelphia, because that's where we are right now. And I mean, I just sat down. I wanted to know how she started a company. Like, how did you start this humongous staging company in your late 30s? So meeting different kinds of people from different backgrounds and different design backgrounds, and it's all very interesting for me. I love it.
And do you go to trade shows and things like that still currently?
I did.
Well, yeah.
We did. The last one I did, I was at the kitchen and bath design show in Vegas, and I actually did a big special for A&E for it. It aired a couple weeks ago.
Oh,
yeah,
of course. Actually, well, two of our other hosts had went to K-Biz because when we were at High Point last market, they won a trip to go to K-Biz for free. And so they were just way too excited out of this world. I wish I went with them, but no. But it looked like a blast.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss it this year. I don't think they have it on this year because of COVID and everything. But yeah, wow, it's amazing. It was an amazing show.
And that was actually kind of right before COVID hit too. So they made it out lucky as one of the last shows to happen before everything went down. But that's exciting.
Yeah, but it'll happen again. I hope. Anyways, I don't know when, but I think that things we'll have those types of gatherings again in the future.
At High Point was the first time that I had met actually like a direct stager, like someone who actually, we actually did a few interviews with different home staging companies and learning about that process. And that was something that was brand new to me entirely too, because I just can't even imagine, like you said, and gaining the square footage and the warehouses and just these huge companies that do actually people start later in life too, just because they realize some of the different opportunities, and those always end up coming later on in your career. So it's interesting just to see how that affects you now.
Well, I think that, everybody I find from the people that I've interviewed on my podcast and in my life, your career will probably change about 3 times in your life. I mean, on average, from what I've learned, and that's just a total personal observation. And because a lot of times throughout life, something major will happen, which will either shut one door or open another door, for good or for bad. You just don't know where life is going to bring you. And just being okay during those times of change, like right now we're all going through a huge time of change. But out of this, I was just reading an article, like 73% of business women have now switched their company to like online. Now there's a huge that are not going to be successful. It's also hard to do that. But what I mean is that we're all coming out of this new way in this new world where, we have to change and shift and put our business online or not, or start a new business or do something you never thought you'd ever do. And I never ever would have thought that I was going to end up on a home design show, and now I'm staging in front of the world, basically on TV, and I'm really loving it. Like, I mean, I've been doing it for years now, but I also sober. My show was off the air for 9 years. So, yeah. So now I also want to start me off camera too, the staging company.
That was my next question, because there's such a big gap with Sell This House. How have things changed from not only like the initiatives and the goals that it started with, but to the show now?
Oh, these changes. Well, we're also filming during COVID, right? So there's that.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, before we had one designer on the show, and then I was the host slash, I was there for the homeowners to help them through the emotional process of selling their home and moving into the next chapter. And now I've really become a real estate slash staging expert on the show, and we're using a variety of different designers. Mm-hmm. So there's that. Before, we used to show people how to use a lot of their own things, and we didn't have, because there were no staging companies before. I mean, really, our show kind of introduced staging to the world. Staging is fairly a new terminology. It's an idea. And now there's all these companies. So we had to really adjust. And we had to also adjust the show to online listings, which didn't happen before. We have virtual tours now on the show, which is very exciting, which we didn't have before.
Oh.
Yeah. So we are adjusting to the times. And I didn't know how it was all going to go over in the new episodes, but I think it's really fun and hip, and I'm really enjoying it.
And so, like you already said, how much has it changed with COVID now that you're filming in the middle of the process? Is it just regulations, or?
Yeah, it's so the hardest thing that I've noticed is that before we would, you know, back in the day, before we got picked up again, I would shoot 1 week and then be home for a week, shoot a week, you know, and I live in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And now because of COVID, I had to fly in. I had to quarantine for 2 weeks. Then I got tested. Everybody gets tested. If you fly in quarantine, they're very, very strict. We have the social distance on set. Everybody's wearing a mask.
Am I right?
Okay, so that is my point of view when, you know, the times when you see me commenting on the show and I'm like, okay, this is my opinion and like, that's my opinion and all these opinions and whatever. That's my point of view whenever you see those types of things on the show. Right, guys? Look at this amazing team. Yay!
And we are following all the guidelines strictly. I'm not allowed to go anywhere, and I can't have any visitors. But I have a daughter, she's 9, and I'm not able to see her for almost 3 months. Oh. That's probably been the hardest change for me, is just, you know, at the same time, she's very proud of me because, and I let her help me make my decisions. I'm like, you know, are you okay with mommy doing this and that? She's like, I'm so proud of you, mommy. Oh, okay. And we talk every day. So I would say with COVID, it's more on a personal, yes, you have all the, you know, loopholes and things you have to jump through and all that on set. But that, you know, you can do. I'm just so thankful that we're all working right now. We're one of few production companies that are working. And so we're all like, let's just do what we need to do. It's all quarantine. It's all, you know, follow the guidelines.
Yeah, TV life has gotten pretty boring in the past few months, that's for sure. But that's good to hear, though, that it still makes it work.
Yeah, we're making new episodes. We're very thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. I was going to also ask about your beautiful family. Your daughter is so beautiful. How has that been? Like, does she have any influence on what you do in the design world? Does she already take interest in it now? She still is young, but I think you probably had that idea when you were younger as well.
Yeah, I would say that she's very into what I'm doing on TV. She also would be probably accompanying me on some of the episodes, but because of COVID, she can't.
Yeah.
But before this, I was on a show called Home and Family, and I was a DIY expert and like home lifestyle expert on the show. And she was with me on the show. And we would do and make all these things together. So she has been a very big part of my career, and she definitely wants her room a certain way. And you know, we're moving into a new house in a few weeks, and so she's already helped sending me design ideas and all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, let's see what we can afford first, okay?
I think it's so funny having such a close inspiration, probably on her life and her wanting to do it herself. When Sell This House in general, when it first was released, it it was part of the reason that the whole world today is so influenced in DIYs and actually wanting to, renovate their own spaces. That's why it became such a trend so quickly. And how I feel like I can talk to anyone that I know just regarding the interiors of a space because they have an appreciation for it now because of all the shows that have aired ever since. So I think you've made a big impact in that way. So it's pretty funny to see how that close relationship can start to turn things as well.
What I love about this whole design world too is that when you get out there and you start working in this world, you're actually making this world a more beautiful place. You're making people happier. You're helping them through the transition of leaving their old chapter behind, moving into a new home, or creating something new in the space they're already living in. So it was very important to me to live a life of helping others and making other people just happier through a certain stage or journey in life. And this is a way that we can do it as designers, and that's why I love what I do. Not only as a television host, but even if the show wasn't around, I would still be staging people's houses. I would still be helping people design their homes, and it just makes you feel really good about what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and touching that client personally. And I could be wrong about saying this, but the previous time Sell This House was a little bit more budget friendly. Like you said, kind of reutilizing some of the furniture pieces that was brought into the client's home. What is it like working with clients now so personally and still making it their own?
It's kind of the same. It's just a mixture of using staging companies' stuff if they don't have it, Before that, we didn't even have the choice. But right now, we have a choice. So I could take somebody's things that they have in their home, use their things. It's really up to what is the budget that you want to spend. And this is on a personal level, not on a television show level. Is that what you mean?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. More like how much do you want to spend it, what they want to use, just their own things. I always suggest, let's start here. If they don't have a budget, let's just use your things. Some of the things I might upscale, reinvent, use it differently. Look, a fresh coat of paint goes a long way, right? And we all know when we need it and where we need it. And then we also know as designers that sometimes homeowners don't really see their own stuff in the house. They don't see the chip paint. They don't see the holes in the walls, So there's some expensive fixes just to create the foundation, and then the staging comes after. And I try to work with the things that they have. And then if that doesn't work and the house isn't selling, we need to step it up a little bit.
I'm just so interested in your perspective on how you look at homes in general too, because the way that we break it down in architecture school, obviously it's a totally kind of different route, but I wish people could hear it more often, how you think personally, because there's so many other outlets of what we do in interior architecture and design, and how we can apply it to staging and things like that, and how we can work with clients and work under the constraints of what we have. Because in the reality of today too, the budget isn't always there in some scenarios as well. And we consider a lot of our projects, we have a focus on adaptive reuse also at Marywood. So adaptive reuse, I think it applies whole to residential spaces in the way we consider how you're utilizing an artifact in the past, or even just the bare bones of what you have. So I just think that's a powerful message that students need to understand at an earlier age too, especially coming out of university.
Yeah. The best to the best and this and that right off the bat. Honestly, I've seen a student makeovers on Sell This House for literally $500, and it looked better than a $25,000 redo. You just creativity and a small budget, and reinvent or upscale things in ways you just can't even imagine. And you can create that space that you want. Now, it might not be, whatever wallpaper or whatever, it might not be, what's it called? Hardware. Oh my goodness. It's one of my favorite stores ever on the planet. It's Restoration Hardware.
Restoration Hardware.
Yes, but there are ways you can make it look that way, and you'd be surprised. You just have to open your mind a little bit, do some research, talk to someone who's really good at creating, inventing, reinventing the stuff you have, and you can get. It's interesting what looks you can get. I hope that that's what you mean by
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think reinventing the wheel is a conversation that we need to have more often. But and that's the reason that we go to design school, is to constantly be inventive. And so I think the reiteration of what we have is just a way of putting that. And I know you do a lot of construction in these phases too. Have you learned a handful of just hands-on material and actually kind of getting down and dirty with some of these spaces since being on the show?
Well, the old show was the show that I used to do construction. So
Yeah.
new version of it. So we did Sell This House, which was no construction, it was just staging. And then we did Sell This House Extreme. Now, Sell This House Extreme was a lot of construction. And I worked with a construction team.
Yeah.
Tell you, like, if I had to choose, I like that better. I like rolling my power tools and reciprocal saws and chainsaws and whatever else they had to use.
Hi, I'm Tanya Memme. For the past 20 years, not a week has gone by where I have not been on television, doing some kind of DIY or construction. But for the past decade, I've traveled across America hosting a bunch of popular TV shows. Sell This House, Move This House, Sell This House Extreme, all on A&E and the Bio channel. I've gutted the inside of more old houses than you can imagine to then completely reconstruct a new one. I did everything from ripping down walls to building furniture. So when it comes to home repair and construction, I have done it all, and I've done it all on TV. I use chainsaws, jackhammers, wood saws, tools of all kinds, paints of all kinds, refurbishing, upcycling, DIYing, and crafting of all kinds.
I'd be really careful. I don't know if they let me use it anymore because of all the, insurance policies out there, but I really enjoy construction. I grew up on a construction site, so.
Yeah, and so could you tell me a little bit more about your family's construction company? And do you have an influence on that now, or?
I have zero influence on my family's company. So the company started over 40 years ago, called Mountain View Homes, and my uncle founded it with my two other uncles. So there were three. My uncle and his two brother-in-laws. They started the company and it grew. We built one house and then 4 houses and then 6 houses. And we had investment money come in, and then they were building 20 houses. And now they build about 400 houses a year. And so I grew up on construction sites and going to visit the model homes. The model homes is where I saw all the design and the new features and the new, like everything from appliances to new paint colors to how things would work. I mean, K-Biz was just a world of, oh my gosh, all the new technological things. And I grew up kind of seeing it through the design, the spec houses that my family would build, that my brother now owns a company with she headed down to the next generation. But yeah, it grew and grew and grew. And I grew up on tractors and, dump trucks and bulldozers and just everything you can imagine to build a house. I was always involved. But I have no influence in it now. I'm living in LA and I'm doing my career, and they're running the company there. And I worked for the company once when I was 15 and it didn't go well. And
Never worked for family. It never ends up well. But that is crazy, because most of the conversations that we've had, there's always some sort of link, whether it was when you were 5 or 10 or 15 years old, where either a family member or someone you knew was a part of the industry, that you were able to see a touch of it. And I can just imagine my first time entering a model home, I was awestruck myself, and just wanting to be a part of the way that some of those materials were chosen and things like that. It just makes you want to be a part of the process.
Yeah, I was too young. That was the thing. I left Canada and moved to the US at 24. But all that I was in school, I was studying I had business administration, minoring in theater on a construction site, and watching my dad build this company. But I wasn't old enough to really start getting involved, because it was when the housing company was just starting to get traction. So then by the time I left, I'm already studying acting and everything else, kind of doing my own thing. And the funny thing is, you're right. It's amazing how certain things always come around. So the show that ended up really signifying my career was a show in home design and it's construction.
Things always happen for a reason somewhere along the line. So I guess we're running a little bit out of time, but I still want to end on a question actually we used to ask really early on in the seasons, but I think it's beneficial for you because You have really good input, not only on life decisions, but I think your career path in general. What's one advice or piece of advice that you would give to some of the students that are probably going to watch this episode today that maybe either don't know what career path they're going to take, but probably have aspirations that aren't big enough?
You know, being in your, you guys are all in your 20s now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, being in your 20s is it was the hardest, almost hardest time during my life. It's a hard time. You don't know where you're going. You don't even know if you're going to end up using the degree that you have. And you feel at the time that there's so much pressure. I talk to a lot of people in their 20s. And they feel like they're getting old because 30's around the corner. I mean, the one thing that you all have is your youth. And I really mean that sincerely. Like you have time, you have discoveries to make, you have life to explore, and just be easy on yourself. Don't feel like you have to make all these life decisions right now, because you don't. And life is going to throw you first, going to change it anyway. Yeah. So it's just enjoy the day. And I always tell people, I know it's not easy, but you have to enjoy your life outside of your career. You really do. Like, enjoy your time with your friends, enjoy your time with your family, go camping, go do your thing, go enjoy life, and then focus on your stuff when you need to. Don't, I know people that are like in their 20s, they want to make it so bad, make it. And the entire youth is just working. And then something happens in life where they don't even end up, like, all that work was, I'm telling you, it's stress. And you work from the heart, and you just enjoy your life. Doors will open for you, and things, your life is going to turn out the way it's going to turn out. And I know that if you effort when you need to, and have like how do I explain, like, I guess I just believe in, like, energetically, be very at peace, and you just move forward and don't have so much stress. It's amazing what can happen. Magical things happen.
You definitely read my mind, because I feel everything you just said is pretty applicable to my 20s and where I'm at right now. I do feel young, and I constantly feel like I'm getting older, though, and that I don't want it to go by so quickly. But that we always need to kind of make those decisions so quickly. But lately I have been following my gut and kind of doing the things that I love and enjoy, and it'll get me in that spot.
You're not getting it. And that's the thing. Like, I'm going to be 50 years old this year, and you realize that all those years that I thought I was too old or too fat or too this or not good enough, I mean, it's just a waste of time, because you might end up finding your dream job when you're 35. Right now, you're doing all that you can, but it's like opportunities come from the most strangest situations, at the most miraculous times, the most unforeseen times. You don't know where those opportunities are going to come from. And you have to work hard, and you have to have goals, and you have to have ambition. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, just open up yourself to life and enjoy life. So I was very, 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 very ambitious when I was younger. Was that good? I don't know. Opportunities came along when I wasn't even trying.
Yeah, they always seem to. Well, thank you again for taking the time out of your day to come. I think another reason, too, is that we wouldn't even be able to meet, probably, if we weren't able to do this virtually. So that is one benefit of being able to do some of these things. So I can take an excitement for that. But thank you, everyone, for watching another episode of Student's Perspective.